All right, what's going on, guys? We're back. It is Tuesday now, the 27th. We're on our last week of August, and this is probably the most lethargic that price has been for Bitcoin, that the entire market has been. You can see it across your timeline, I'm sure, on Twitter. You can look at it on TradingView in the chart right here. You can look at really any of the altcoins as well, actually, even slowing down based on Bitcoin not doing anything, right? Sometimes a flat Bitcoin means that alts can perform well. Really, everything you look at, you aren't even seeing follow through from alts. Bitcoin has been nearly flat the whole day, right? Trading within this 2 or 3%. This has probably been the slowest that Bitcoin has acted, that has traded, that it's moved in quite some time. Right, so as I look at the review yesterday, I waited almost all day today to post this. I wanted to do it in the morning. I was like, oh, I'll give it till noon to see if we make a move to the top of the range again or test support again. And I figured, you know what, if I wait any longer, it's not going to come out until late tonight, and I know it's already late for some of you. So I'm going to put this video out right now. I was kind of going back and forth with even putting out an analysis today. It's hard to come up with another 30 minutes of fresh look because, to be quite honest, there was a few really good takes, I think, on Twitter that showcased this. I just don't think there's anything to trade here. But I'll quickly review my view from yesterday, from Sunday as well, and looking past just today or even tomorrow if we do continue to be slow now until the end of the month. Right now we have, 3 days. Friday is going to be the 30th and then the end of the month on the 31st. So monthly coming to a close very soon, kind of looking at what could change there, and still the scenario, still the setup, still the condition to me that would be most exciting for a long. That's what I'm looking for my trade. That still hasn't changed. But also to the downside, very quick review of, look, since this has been so lethargic, since we are just still sitting right along support, right, in the last two attempts now, right, lower high, lower high, lower high. Every single time you push up here, we're getting stopped. So let's say, things actually do start to fade off. I think the market is getting a little bit more bearish again. We do start to taper off. We break this. Kind of what does that mean for Bitcoin? What's the support below? Things like that. So I'm just going to cover that again. I know it's a little bit repetitive, but to be quite honest, there's just not a lot of new stuff to cover. And I'll kind of go over why, if Bitcoin's being this lethargic and our alts aren't able to follow through based on that, I think it also, it's just anything kind of feels like forcing it. I know for some people, it's someone email, or I talked to a trader yesterday and they were saying, man, it's like, it just seems like I can't catch a trade or I can't find a setup or whatever it is. And I think right now in this market, it's making people want to hunt or look for setups. If it's not there, I don't think you can make something out of thin air. I would rather wait, even for a breakdown. I'd rather have a breakdown and then look for a trade. This kind of stuff, this lethargic 1% and 2% moves for Bitcoin with alt market that's really doing the exact same. I would say this is probably the least attractive 2 or 3 days to be trading that we've had in months. And just to give a very quick visualization as well, I don't use too many trend lines, but if you do want to kind of visualize this consolidation, right, for people that aren't tracking consolidation, literally just mean price trading in a tighter and tighter and tighter range, right? Ever since, end of July, August, we did have kind of an explosive move to start. But ever since that, it's just been getting in this smaller now 1% and 2% range. Until we start breaking out of, either this support or this resistance, this is there's chop, which I think you can play, and then there's very, very tight chop, a very, very tight consolidation or a tight range that we're moving in. And there's just not much there. Right, so the video today is going to be very short. I just want to review why, in my opinion, even though I do think, there are a lot of factors in the macro market, there are a lot of factors medium to long term that make me bullish on Bitcoin, I just can't justify a setup when the moves off this support have been so weak. We've tested this support so many times and it's been weak. Every single high has been lower. Right? I would love to get long, but in order to get long, I need to have this condition met, which really increases the chances, my conviction, the probabilities that I'm correct. And, even if I am buying, what is that, $600, $700 higher, I think if we were able to break out like we did at the beginning of August back here, I think that would signify such strength getting over this most recent swing high, being able to take out this first resistance, breaking out of this tighter range that we're in, And this pivot has played such an important role. When we do get above the 10.9 area, generally that's led to nice follow through. Right? You can think about the first time it happened back here. You can think about the second time it happened here. We moved up, retest it, and then go to 12.9. And you think about it the third time it happened here, get above 10.9, right? Make it all the way up to 12K. Every single time we're getting above this pivot, it's leading to good things. That to me would give me such, it would just be added significance, added conviction. It's a slower moving approach, and it means I kind of have to wait. But with a very lethargic Bitcoin trading in a tighter range, I just don't see too much of an edge, trying to bet and predict which level this breaks. Medium to long term, I remain very bullish. On the short term, I think it's, it could break down. I think a lot of things are pointing to it moving up as well. I just don't see really an edge. I know that's like frustrating to some people. I see the factors that I like globally, metals and this dollar yuan, which has been, in my opinion, a nice guide, both moving higher. You have backed and a lot of positive things for the market coming out. A lot of global indicators as well, kind of pointing towards an environment that Bitcoin would do well. But the price action, you can't ignore what's happening in the chart. And it's very weak bounce from support, lower highs. Right? So I would love to get long, but to me, it looks like getting long up here, I think, is just a better setup. If I had to, if I had to have a position, I'd be long here, but I just don't really see too much of an edge, right? I'd be long and kind of have my stop here. I think that's a fine play. It doesn't, I don't wake up and really want to trade it. I don't think that's something where if I take that setup 100 times, I come out that far ahead, right? So a very quick review of that. I just kind of covered a lot of it, but I'm going to cover it a little bit deeper. And then for alts, you guys know the environment that alts would do well, right? It's Bitcoin, I think, moving lower. That's when we've seen spurts of Bitcoin or of altcoin outperformance. 1, 2, 3 back there. I'm going to delete these lines. This isn't what I'm talking about anymore. Right. As well as this time period, this like week long. So we've had 2 or 3 alt windows, and they all really do rely on Bitcoin not only being flat, but generally being weak. With a Bitcoin that isn't weak or strong right now, it's just not moving. We're not seeing alts even kind of reclaim the levels that they were able to move to a few days ago. Tron, ADA, nearly everything, right? That it is still holding its support, but it's not like it's actually, moving up off this support. Litecoin's another good example. It's holding its support that it's been at now for ever since, August 9th when Bitcoin kind of topped at 12K, but that's where we're at. We're just stuck at support. It's not like these things are following through. Same with ADA, same with ETH, same with EOS, same with a lot of these things. Sure, it's holding its support, no follow through. It's up like 3%. And based on how they've done in the past when Bitcoin does wake up, right, it generally looks like this. After a 10, 15% pop, they'll break down, follow, kind of on the back of Bitcoin strength. I also don't really see the edge here. And that's frustrating to some. It's not the most fun approach, but it's me kind of understanding, look, there's environments where I think it's extremely attractive to trade Bitcoin. There's environments where I think it maybe pays to be a little bit more patient. I think it's one of those times right now. Once again, if I had to have a position based on global factors, based on the environment and where I think we'll be globally in the next medium to long term, right, 6 months, year, 3 years out, I love Bitcoin. It doesn't mean, though, that we couldn't break down in the short term. So for me, the ideal scenario out of that is, look, I would love for us to be able to reclaim this most recent swing high. This is when I think volatility actually kicks in. If we get above 10.9, I think that kind of explosive moves are possible and things like that. I think after consolidation, and if you look at price structure to price structure, right? When we move from, here's a very good example. When we move from way back beginning of the year, right? I think everyone kind of remembers this time period. Way back. Pretty much like December, end of November of 2018 going into 2019. And just a very quick review of how these structures, how we've kind of gone from ranging to trending, what happens when the trending market slows down, and then eventually, once a key level is broken, we kind of have that explosive breakout, and then volatility lasts for a while. Going back to like December and November of 2018, right? We range. We're in between this range of pretty much 34. Sure, we got below it for a moment. And then the top of that range is 41. And so price is just bouncing back and forth until kind of really from March until April, Bitcoin was very, very quiet. Yes, it's grinding higher, But if you remember, I mean, only a few days were even $200 days, 1, 2, 3, 4% days at max. And then right after we do break out of that consolidation, do break out of that ranging period, right, a trend kicks in. And that lasts from really April 1st all the way until the end of June. Right? And ever since that, kind of as volatility, it did stick around for a little while, right? This was an explosive week. This was an explosive week. After that, now we just kind of start trading in a tighter and tighter and tighter range. That's where we're at right now. And those periods of extremely low volatility, when we do break out, right, are generally followed by that expansion move. Right? So a lot of people, you've probably heard the phrase, people say it a lot. They say, small-bodied candles lead to large-bodied candles. And it's not like a random walk where you're flipping a coin and saying, is it going to be low volatility versus high volatility? How this works out as the market, trades in a tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter range, right? When buyers and or sellers kind of take over and push past a certain level, right, generally there's really nice follow through that level. And so my thought process is, look, if we do get above this most recent swing high, if we do get above this 10-9, this area where we've consecutively had lower high, lower high, lower high, market's been trading in this tighter range. I don't view these trend lines as that important, but just to visualize, right, as we trade in a tighter and tighter and tighter range, as we do break out of here, this could be a fake out, but if it follows through to 10-9, I think that would be still a really nice confirmation point, show strength. I don't think it would be buying so late, right, that the market just reverses there. I think that would be a real turning point in the market where we would actually know that we're headed higher. And for me, that's what's key. I look for those larger swings. Even if you are a smaller term scalper or smaller time frame scalper, I should say, that is the kind of level, having a major level like that marked out where you would expect structure to change from, look, this is consolidation. This would probably hint or signal expansion is about to happen. I think that that's really important. On the flip side of that, that might be a little bit strange to think about of, look, I would want to buy higher, but I don't necessarily want to buy $600 or $700 lower. That's just because it's a trade. As I look at this current price, I could make an argument and say, look, 96, 9,800 has acted as support. We're still pretty close to that, right? We're pretty much in like the 10-1, 10K. This is still the bottom third of the smaller range, right? Call this the smaller range, which is the top of this smaller range we've been trading in is like 10.7 to 10.9. The bottom of it is like 98 to 10.1. Okay, we're still kind of in the bottom of the range. I could pretty much get away with, right, roughly buying in this region, right, and roughly just trying to take profit in this region, and just kind of a rinse repeat, right? Buy, sell, as we kind of bounce and pinball back and forth. And sure, you can get away with that for right now. The problem is, since we are just consolidating so tight, and technically, each bounce has been weaker and weaker, I'm still viewing this as support. I'm still respecting this as support unless we get below it, right? But there are a lot of kind of signs technically of, look, lower high, lower high, lower high. Every single bounce has been weaker. We continue to test the exact same level with no bounce. It doesn't exactly inspire the most confidence. And one thing, just because we bounce on this 4 times doesn't mean we have to break it. But I do think that level gets a little bit less actionable, right? The first time we tested or got below and reclaimed, beginning of August, I loved this trade, all over it, right? Tried to, we talked about it in the newsletter or in the daily Coinist Daily multiple times. Kind of for 3 days, we hung out right here. What's the condition to get long? Reclaim, go for it. Right? Exact same thing a week or two later. This time I'm adamant on it, and even if it works out again, right? Even if this, buying here or buying 10-1 works out again and we do move up, that's fine. I mean, I would gladly kind of miss this trade again. And the reason being, I just get so much more conviction up there. This level to me, I just think that the possibility of it breaking through has increased to such a level with no follow through and kind of adding on the lower highs that, it loses a little bit of edge for me, personally. If I was looking at it in a vacuum, I would still want to be long. I still do like this level. I know a lot of people are pointing bearish. That's kind of fine. That's going to make a market. Some people are going to be bearish. They could be right. But for me, the trade would really kick in up here. That's kind of the really high conviction play. If I had to have a position, sure, I like being long from here and aiming for the top of the range. I would cut it below 10K. I just don't think that that's kind of, I don't know. As I look at that and as I backtest that, even just how Bitcoin's played out in the previous 2 or 3 ranges, I'm not sure that it yields the same results as kind of the first reclaim or the first test of that major range low. This many touches of that range low just don't inspire confidence. If I had to have a position to be long, but once again, I'm only interested in kind of swinging this one, right? I mean, sometimes there's almost 4 or 5 days last week I didn't take a Bitcoin trade. We're 2 days into this week, I still don't like one. I think there is a huge, a big one right around the corner. You can take other trades, right? My goal is to give you a very good understanding of kind of what's the structure right now, what's a point where it would actually be a breakout or actually probably lead to expansion, right? And think about positioning and strategy that way. I'm not going to fire a trade signal in here every day. Some people want that. It's just not how kind of I think I can be the most helpful. So I don't think there's anything wrong with playing a trade here, right? It just doesn't really fit my style. I'm looking for that 4-hour, that daily swing, the longer time frame swing. I think that would also match very well with kind of how the patience worked beginning of August, as well as this play from 96 up to 10K. I think that this play has kind of the same potential as both of those. That's the level of confidence I would have here as I did back beginning of August, as well as kind of the second week of August. Until then, hard to have a lot of conviction, hard to have a lot of confidence here. And for that reason, it just feels like hunting for a setup. So for me, I love taking swings when volatility is high, when things are that weak. It's kind of like fake out chop zone, not as attractive for me. ADA, Tron, everything else, normally in a vacuum, I would say, look, volatility on Bitcoin's low. We look rather weak, right? I want to try to swing this for an alt window. I talked about on Friday why I thought the alt window closed. I talked about it yesterday as well when I did the recording from New York. I still think that's the same. These are just not as attractive to me. I think if alts were able to be moving up right now while Bitcoin was flat, sure, I'd be all over them. I think that since they're being also so lethargic, even with Bitcoin flat, it's kind of like everything is pointing towards, just either wait till we do have volatility kick in for Bitcoin, whether that's later today, whether that's tomorrow, whether that's end of the week, Friday, end of the month, right, which generally leads to volatility kicking back in, or just kind of sit on your hands, and that sucks. That's tough for people. It's something that you just kind of have to practice. If you're a shorter time frame scalper and you say, I don't know what the hell Luke's talking about, I can find a trade every single day, go for it. But for swing traders and for people that are kind of looking for that higher time frame play, I just don't see it. So anyways, I could go on for another 10 or 15 minutes kind of talking about why nothing has changed there, but the setups for me remain the exact same. I hope that, even if you don't share the same view, you understand why that would kind of be a paradigm shift in terms of we've had lower highs, we've had very weak bounces. This would be very similar to kind of closing above this pivot 1, 2, 3 times in the past, right? That's led to good things. I think that would be expansion. I also think that would make alts start moving too. Right? That's all I got for today. I do have a very good conversation if you're interested in listening to a podcast. I just put it out today with the CEO of CoinFlex. They're an exchange like BitMEX or FTX or Bybit, but they have physically settled Bitcoin futures. It's what Bakkt is coming out with. It's a fascinating conversation about how that will impact the crypto market. I do think that in the next 1 to 2 to 3 years, exchanges like Bakkt or CoinFlex are going to dominate cash settled Bitcoin futures like BitMEX. I don't think people understand the full scope of that yet. So it's a good conversation if you're interested. It's not, moon because Bakkt or doom because Bakkt. We actually go into why that contract is different for Bitcoin traders. So if you're interested at all, if you do trade Bitcoin heavily, or if you trade futures, I think you'll find it interesting. For others, maybe not. Anyways, guys, that's all I got. I wish I could fire out ideas for you. I just don't see it. And a lot of other traders that I respect and kind of am working with, it's like everyone said the same thing. A couple of people said, what, I'm not even signing in. So that's how it is right now. I think a lot of people are hungry for the next idea, as am I, but exercising patience. All right. Have a good Tuesday. I will see you tomorrow. And yeah, that's all I got. Peace, guys.